Hey, y'all, it's Tim Miller from the Bulwark. Donald Trump just finished a press conference at Mar-a-Lago, and man, this is some weird stuff. He really kind of came off with this aggrieved, ranting grandpa vibe, upset at the media, at the crowd size, at people that were mean to him, that Kamala's getting too much attention. And, the actual point of the press conference is kind of a mystery. I guess he's just tired of Kamala getting more attention than him on his stories while he sits there and watches TV in Mar-a-Lago. So let's just kind of run down through some of the top elements of it. I think that just the fact that it happened at Mar-a-Lago is the first thing worth hitting on, because dude hasn't left his house. He's just been hanging out in the Uday and Kuse suite there in the drawing room at Mar-a-Lago with his fancy gold lame knockoff nonsense. Like, he doesn't go anywhere. He doesn't campaign. He has no campaign stops this week. He had that streamer dude who couldn't pronounce fascism down to Mar-a-Lago to do a live stream with a 23-year-old that based on the videos that I've seen, I think might be illiterate.
What does a fascist mean?
So he did an interview with an illiterate child at Mar-a-Lago, then did nothing for a few days, and then had this press conference, and I guess he goes to Montana tomorrow. So he's got one event. He left the house one time this week. Not exactly a robust campaign. And related to that, I think that there were some things from the press conference that are worth pointing out, just as far as like raising the question whether he has the stamina for this type of campaign. For example, for the second time, remember at the NABJ press conference with the black journalist, he couldn't hear any of the questions and he kept blaming the room. So maybe two unlucky rooms, I guess. But dude can't hear. Let's just listen a little bit.
The upcoming what? What's your question? Say it. You have to speak louder. Would you repeat that question, please? You have to speak up. Yes, sir. It's a hard room because it's very big if you don't. No, you. Would you repeat what she said? You have to speak up. This room is very louder.
Those are just some of the examples. And the whole time he was talking about how he couldn't hear. It also doesn't seem like he can remember Tim Walz's name, his opponent. He would call him Kamala's new friend, or he mispronounces her name, so he'd call it Kamala's new friend.
Kamala and her friend, her new friend.
Or the gentleman from Minnesota.
The Minnesota gentleman.
I don't think he can remember Tim Walz's name. So hearing and memory both seem to be something worth monitoring as far as whether Donald Trump has the acuity and stamina for this campaign and for a second term in the presidency. To me, going through the clips, the thing that I guess I would draw out is the most, to call it newsy would be a stretch, but the most notable thing that is worth talking about is he gets a question from Maggie Haberman at the New York Times about January 6th, and he decides to spin that into a lengthy commentary about how his crowd there, the same crowd that stormed the Capitol, injured dozens of police officers, was larger than MLK's crowd for the I Have a Dream speech. Let's listen to that.
But you never see the picture of the crowd. The biggest crowd I've ever spoken. I've spoken to the biggest crowds. Nobody's spoken to crowds bigger than me. If you look at Martin Luther King, when he did his speech, his great speech, and you look at ours, same real estate, same everything, same number of people. If not, we had more. And they said he had 1 million people, but I had 25,000 people. But when you look at the exact same picture, and everything's the same because it was the fountains, the whole thing, all the way back to from Lincoln to Washington, and you look at it, and you look at the picture of his crowd, my crowd, we actually had more people. They said I had 25,000, and he had 1 million people, and I'm okay with it because I liked Dr. Martin Luther King.
Okay. Guess we got to call that weird. I know it's a hot word of the week, but I don't even know how you get your head to there. That the thing that you need to talk about following an insurrection at the Capitol that yielded the first time our Capitol was stormed, in centuries, you spurred it. And rather than, taking accountability or wanting to move forward or even blaming Antifa or something that'd be a lie, but at least would be a defensible lie, rather than doing any of that, when he now reflects on January 6th, he thinks about how happy he is that his crowd there in his mind, this is a hallucination, was bigger than the crowd for the I Have a Dream speech. Now, some other issues with that comparison. I haven't done a head count on both of them. I'm going to assume that he's lying. Usually a safe assumption, but the I Have a Dream speech was about people getting rights and freedoms. It was unifying. It was a celebration. It was a protest also, but it was a celebration. Trump's rally on January 6th was based on lies, was based on stripping people's freedoms away, their freedom to vote. Right? They're trying to take people's vote away and overturn the results of a free and fair election. And it was angry and it was hateful and it yielded riots. So not a great comparison. I don't know. I don't know where he's going with on that. I don't know if his team, Chris Lasavides, Susie Wiles, I don't know if they kind of had fed him the January 6th was better than MLK's I Have a Dream speech talking points, but I don't know that that's going to land with too many people. He also is just obsessed with the Georgia 2020 election loss. He attacked Brian Kemp again, Republican governor of Georgia. He talked about how it was impossible for him to have lost in 2020 because he won in South Carolina and Alabama, and those states are the same to him, I guess. Just again, thinking about this, treating him like a candidate. If you've been indicted in a state, in a key swing state, if you've been indicted for breaking their laws to try to influence an election improperly, and potentially, you're going to have to stand trial for that. Advancing the lie that led to your indictment in this key state, don't really know what that gets you. The people of Georgia have now several times since 2020 affirmed their opposition to people advancing the big lie, both Senate seats in John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, and then Raphael Warnock again in 2022. Bold move, Cotton. We'll see how that works for you. Then we've got, it's also worth mentioning, abortion issue. In Florida, Donald Trump has to vote on a ballot initiative that will codify Roe v. Wade protections in Florida. So this is not like a hypothetical question that he's getting asked. He's getting asked by our colleague Mark Caputo, was I think the first person to ask him this back in April. And he's asked again at that press conference, how is he going to vote on that? And Trump won't say. You can just watch.
Florida's abortion referendum.
On what?
How are you planning to vote on Florida's abortion referendum this November?
Well, I'm going to announce that. I'm going to actually have a press conference on that at some point in the near future, so I don't want to tell you now.
This is the thing that he does. I'm going to come out with a healthcare plan. I'm going to tell you what my policy is on birth control. Anything that he doesn't want to say, he just said, I'm going to tell you in a week. I'm going to tell you in a week. So wrapping it all up, angry, very, very wrapped around the axle about his small crowd sizes as compared to Kamala, obsessed with that, very defensive of his attempt to overthrow the election in 2020 and all the people that helped him with that, and doesn't know Tim Walz's name and is struggling to hear. So not sure how his team felt like that was going to advance the ball today. I think that I guess they assume that we're talking about him, and that's better than not talking about him. And he's an old guy that sits in his lazy boy or whatever chair he sits in, watching his shows all day, and is upset that people are talking about Kamala, not him, and he wants people to talk about him now. And so he has this press conference. So I guess in that sense, mission accomplished. We'll be back here with more on the Bulwark live stream. We'll be monitoring all this stuff as new developments are happening in this campaign the next 90 days. Make sure you subscribe to this feed. We got you covered. See you soon. Hey, if you like this video and our content, I'd love for you to become a Bulwark Plus subscriber. You get access to bonus podcasts, secret podcasts, and newsletters we put out every day, plus some behind-the-scenes takes that I don't always post on this feed. In addition, you can become part of the Bulwark community. Come over to our Substack and comment and meet other like-minded people. We'd love to have you. Starting today, you can get a free trial at thebulwark.com/free trial. The link is right here on the screen and below in the description. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Come on and give it a free try today.